This is a 15 marker on differential attainment, which is one of the terms in your 15 marker grid. What you want to do with this one is, first of all, highlight what we mean by differential attainment, first of all. Now, differential attainment means different rates of achievement. In education. Differential attainment means different rates of achievement in education. There is differential attainment for class, ethnicity, and for gender. That's how I would start that. I would be clear that differential attainment means just different rates of achievement. And there are differential attainments for class, ethnicity, and gender. Haven't done gender yet, but we have done class and we have done ethnicity. I personally don't like to mix grids. So what I mean by that, this question would need you to do a paragraph on class and differential achievement, ethnicity and differential attainment, and gender. So it is obviously a 15 marker that's asking for your knowledge of those three grids. However, I wouldn't mix, unless I absolutely had to, two grids in one paragraph. I would keep one as class, one as ethnicity, and one as gender. So that would be my introduction. In my paragraph 1, I would say that class has huge rates of differential attainment. 21% of free school meals pupils achieved a 5 in English and maths, and the average is 46. And this may be due to material deprivation. So I'm going to use material deprivation as a reason for differential attainment and class. For Smith and Noble, material deprivation is the impact of poverty on achievement. Poor quality housing with crowding and damp. Poor diet leading to poor concentration. And for Forsyth and Furlong, the most significant factor deterring working class groups from university was the cost. Smith and Noble, material deprivation. Forsyth and Furlong, the most significant factor deterring working class groups from university was the cost. And catchment areas mean some schools draw their pupils from socially deprived areas with higher crime and unemployment. This means there may be more discipline issues as a result, and a higher turnover of teachers, leading to a poorer quality of education. That's all my knowledge. I've basically got 2 sociologists and catchment areas still knowledge, and I've got stats, so that's really good range. This shows, must be at the end of the paragraph, this shows there is differential attainment in education. This shows there's differential attainment in education with class. As poverty leads to higher rates of illness, lower attendance, leads to higher rates of illness with lower attendance, and lower levels of concentration. Leading to different rates of achievement. Differential attainment means that poverty leads to high rates of illness, so lower attendance, lower levels of concentration in class, causing much lower rates of achievement for working class groups. You could, if you wanted to, do language instead. You could do labelling instead. This question is beautiful. It's incredibly broad. It just says explain, give evidence and examples and explain differential achievement or differential attainment. So for my class one, I'm going to do material deprivation. It's got nice range. I also think it's got some really good valid points to raise. Paragraph 2. Paragraph 2 is going to be ethnicity. And for ethnicity, I'm going to do institutional racism because I've got 3 sociologists. And again, I think it's really compelling and I can draw out some really good this shows. So from a paragraph 2, I say there's differential attainment with different ethnic groups. There's differential attainment for different ethnic groups. Particularly our Afro-Caribbean groups have huge rates or huge gaps. So our Afro-Caribbean groups often have lower levels of attainment. This may be due to institutional racism, where the policies, procedures, and practices disadvantage non-white groups. You could put in there actually the stat as well as a note, what our Afro-Caribbean groups achieve compared to the average. That would be quite nice actually. For Gilbourne, black males are seen as a threat and disruptive. Black males are seen as a threat and disruptive. They're much more likely to be labelled and stereotyped. More likely to be in lower sets and 3 times more likely to be excluded. Black males are seen as a threat, they're seen as disruptive, they're 3 times more likely to be excluded and much more likely to be labelled and stereotyped. For Pilkington, Pilkington found evidence of racially discriminatory practices in the allocation of pupils to sets. And Gilbourne and Ball note that middle class parents can guide their children through racist setting and streaming as cultural capital acts as a shield. Okay, so the end of those 3 sociologists are always aimed for 3. And this means that I give the examiner good range. To get top band for AO1 or knowledge, you need range. So at the end of that paragraph, same as always, we have to say this shows. If you're not doing this shows and specifically addressing the question, you're not doing AO2. So this shows there is differential attainment in education. This shows there is differential attainment in education with ethnicity. This shows there's differential attainment in education with ethnicity. As racism means Afro-Caribbean groups, have their grades limited by being placed into bottom set. This means Afro-Caribbean groups often have their grades limited by being placed into bottom sets and are unable to access the curriculum due to much higher rates of exclusions. Can't learn the curriculum if you are excluded. So this shows differential attainment in education with ethnicity, as racism means Afro-Caribbean groups have their grades limited by being placed into bottom set and are unable to access the curriculum due to higher rates of exclusion. Paragraph 3 you can't do yet because we haven't done gender, but paragraph 1 and 2 have 3 pieces of evidence in each paragraph, which is what we should always trying to be aimed for, particularly on a question as broad as this. And it has this shows at the end of each paragraph, specifically referencing the question and being very clear about what's causing that differential rates of achievement. So you can do 2 out of the 3 paragraphs. Can't do the third one yet because we haven't done gender. Could you ensure for me, please, that in your 15 marker grids, under differential attainment, that you summarise those 2 paragraphs, please? Although I've obviously constructed this as an exam question, it hasn't actually ever come up before in the exam, which is a little bit sad, but hopefully you'll get it in your year because I think it's a really lovely question. So any questions at all, do let me know, but just to give you some good application to exam structure so you're nice and clear. Thank you, folks.